Could this be the biggest roster for a WWE 2K game? There's lots of legends signed, a stacked main roster, and a lot of big names and growing talent in NXT. 2K24 had a huge roster as well with over 200 superstars, kind of a lot, but there were still some big omissions in there, right? And sometimes because people are not signed to legends contracts, they just come into the WWE a little bit too late for the cutoff and they can't make the video game. So let's talk about who's in, who's out, speculate a little bit, and a few special mentions towards the end. First up, Penta. Penta just debuted on Monday Night Raw on Netflix against Chad Gable. He won. I love the match. I thought it was such a good way to showcase him, to show everybody what he's all about. I love to see what feuds he's going to be in throughout the year, but because Penta has debuted now officially and we're in January before the Royal Rumble, there is a chance, everybody, there's a slim chance Penta can still make it into 2K25. Generally, as far as I know, the cutoff for capturing models and all of that is the Rumble. Now the Rumble is a little later this year and the game is still scheduled, we're planning to be out in March around the usual time frame, so the cutoff could be really tight. However, if they want to make a big deal out of Penta coming into WWE this year, I think you do something similar to that of CM Punk, who returned at Survivor Series, but he was still making it into the 2K24 game, and he was actually in the first DLC pack. I think they can capture all of this. It shouldn't be too hard. You want to make sure that he is in the game and he's going to lead a DLC pack. All right, next up, someone who should be in the base game. Don't put him in as DLC, and some people care, some people don't. Goldberg. Goldberg made an appearance not long ago against Gunther. They had a face-to-face, and then he disappeared. Now the rumblings and everything is that Goldberg is going to return to WWE, and even more fuel to the fire, Goldberg getting a retirement match, maybe at WrestleMania 41, maybe against Gunther, maybe against Braun Breaker, we don't know. But if he does return, this should not be too complicated. Let's get his model from the previous games and just slap him into the new game, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal. We've had Goldberg for years. I was kind of disappointed he wasn't in 2K24, I gotta be honest, because I like recreating stuff like Attitude Era and WCW and having him going up against NWO Hulk Hogan brother. Now we don't speak his name anymore, do we? But I like to have Goldberg back in there. Just adds to my roster. Let's go. All right, the next one on my list is going to be Final Boss The Rock. By the way, I'm not going through every single person of this entire roster. That's insanity. But I do want to just make some mentions of some people that we do believe could make it in, and the Final Boss is definitely one of them. I think 2K would spend a lot of time trying to make sure that they get TKO Boss Rock, his whole entrance, everything nailed down. Probably from his WrestleMania 40 entrance or one of the segments where he showed up on TV, but they gotta nail that whole thing from the Titantrons, the music, everything. Give me Final Boss in his full form and glory. And you know what else? Give him the alt attires too. Give us this WrestleMania 40 Night 1 attire where he was wrestling, and give us Night 2 when he showed up and he was just wearing the whole Final Boss get up there. But I don't want TKO Boss from Netflix. I don't want that, where he wore the glasses. It was very confusing that whole evening, wasn't it? A couple of other ones that I think are confirmed, as far as we know, to have Legends deals, so it's safe to assume that they could be in the game. Mickie James being one of them, and Jacqueline is another one. Both have been in WWE games in the past, but now that they have signed fresh new contracts with WWE as Legends, I totally see them making it in as DLC. Now another one, a big name that I think WWE really wants to spotlight, could even be, it's kind of one of my early predictions for pre-order bonus. I think you could do this as a pre-order, Jesse the Body Ventura. Jesse Ventura has made amends with WWE, and they have him hosting, or one of the hosts of Saturday night's main event, and he actually did a really good job in commentary, I thought, when he was out there. I like to see more of Jesse Ventura, and I could totally see that they want to be able to put him front and center as a big legend and a big name coming back to WWE. Think about it too, when we had the pre-order bonus stuff for 2K24, where you had Dusty Rhodes and Stardust and all this stuff. They could do something similar where you have almost a headlining pre-order bonus in Jesse Ventura, and then round it out with maybe 2 or 3 other wrestlers to go with him. And one of those other people that could be a pre-order bonus, maybe to go with Mr. Ventura, Travis Scott. Done some work with WWE. He showed up with Jey Uso on Raw and Netflix. Just smoking something real fierce there. But because Travis Scott has a working relationship with WWE, I can see him being the celebrity one that they put into the game, like they've done with Bad Bunny, and then they have Travis Scott be the soundtrack curator guy, where he picks all the songs. Apparently they like doing that stuff, and they always want to have their celebrity entrant in there. Other names on the list, and again, this person's already signed and confirmed to sign a WWE Legends deal. Victoria, I think she is in the game. It'd be great to have a retro or a Legends women's pack that they do that. And by the way, I do assume WWE 2K is going to do the tried and true DLC method of 5-6 packs throughout the year. They haven't changed that model in forever. I don't see them changing it now. Other than like, back in my head, I'm like, kind of cool if they did try something new, something like a battle pass. But I know there's other people in there that are going to say, no, everything should be included in the game for free. It's not how business works, whether we like it or not. Next name, and they signed a Legends deal, I think fairly recently, but Armando Estrada. Estrada should be in there as a manager, a playable manager. Add him in there. He goes alongside Umaga, who's already in the game. And I'd love for them to have their motion entrance captured and put into the game. Be great to have them and have Umaga there with Armando Estrada. But Estrada didn't have like a weapon, did he? Because I'm just thinking like Jimmy Hart, they added in, he had the megaphone and the megaphone was the weapon. What could Estrada use that would be almost a weapon? I don't know. But anyways, I think Estrada makes it in. Another name that makes it in back into WWE, Mark Henry. He's left AEW, he's no longer with them. He's, according to him anyways, I believe I've heard him in interviews or even on Busted Open where he's talked about how he's got a working relationship, deal, agreement, whatever with WWE. Get Mark Henry back in there, the world's strongest man. I need to hear his entrance music back into a game. Mark Henry is somebody that I do miss having in the WWE games. Another legend on the female side, again, you could do a whole pack on all the women here that you could add in, but Alundra Blaze. She's been in 2K games in the past, Hall of Famer, done a lot of work with WWE. Another name to put into the list, Jushin Thunder Liger, who was, I believe, rumored to be, was it last year or 2K23? I can't remember anymore. Liger was rumored to be in the game and we never got him. He's WWE Hall of Famer. It's time to put him in there. Imagine the matchups you can get with like a newly added Penta, for example, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero. Have a lot of fun in there. Other names that could be returning. I'm highlighting the Bellas here to be back into the 2K games. A lot of people were excited because they're fans of the Bellas, but Nikki Bella was at the Raw Netflix debut episode. Makes me think that they are on good terms, even though like I think in the last year they were kind of, it sounded like they were on the outs, but hey, if she showed up on Raw Netflix, I got no doubt that the Bellas would be in there again. Andrade is another name, and I mentioned him before. I think that Andrade has been there since last year's Royal Rumble in WWE after leaving and going to AEW and all of that. I think Andrade will probably be a DLC. Been a couple of years. And the Motor City Machine Guns as well have been in WWE now for a few months. That would be a great headlining DLC pack in my eyes, is to have the guns in there. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The Bloodline, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and Jacob Fatu, who love Solo. I think they're all in the game. I think if WWE 2K was gonna do it, they'd put them in all in as a DLC pack, but that's only 3 names, so how do you round it out? If you were gonna do like a Bloodline pack with all of them, I think you get all 3 with kind of their matching gear that they've used, at least for Tama Tonga, Tongaloa. Can't wait to have Jacob Fatu, I gotta be honest. And I think you could round out a Bloodline DLC pack with the Wild Samoans. That's 5. You could add in, you know what you could add in there to round it out in a really fun way? Well, I say fun, but it'd be cool if they added in Roman Reigns' custom championship, the red one the WWE shop sold. If they added that thing in, because they've done like the WrestleMania championship they added in last year, and that was part of the WrestleMania pack that you would buy separately. Add in a title belt there, add more weapons in, and give us like a custom Bloodline arena or something. So what about other names like the Wyatt Six? I'm kind of torn on the Wyatts. Not that I don't want them in the game. I fully expect them to be in the game. I think we get an updated, even more updated Uncle Howdy. They did the Bray Wyatt pack late into the year, which I think was a nice move for them to make. People are big Bray Wyatt fans and they got a somewhat up-to-date Uncle Howdy. I think you get a refresh version of him, but do you add like Uncle Howdy again as a DLC? And for that matter, all of the Wyatt Six, well, except Eric Rowan, but they're all in WWE 2K games. Eric Rowan is someone you're bringing back, and sure, they all got different gimmicks. They're like their Wyatt Six characters, but they still go by their regular names in WWE. So do you bring them in as a DLC pack? Probably. I mean, it's 2K. Like they gotta make money. They gotta build these packs out. I could see them doing that and having them all in there as a custom Wyatt pack. But at the same time, I'm almost like, just put them in the base game. They've been out long enough. Okay, next on the list, controversial name. A lot of people ask. A lot of people comment that it's like, he's in the game. And I'm like, calm down, it's okay. Brock Lesnar, he's still listed on the WWE roster. He was in 2K24, but right around the time of the Vince McMahon controversy got all kick-started, so they yanked him out of the base game, the core game, but they left him in Showcase. So you could still play the Brock Lesnar matches in Showcase mode, but you couldn't play him outside of that, which I thought was a funny move because I could just replay Brock matches all over. Like, what's the difference? Just put him in the game. If Brock is still under contract or has a deal with WWE and still on the active roster, and things with Vince and Brock and controversies and such have all kind of petered out, or they've at least gone quiet now, I see no reason why Brock wouldn't just be in the game. So people that are fans of playing as Brock Lesnar in the video game, I personally think that he would just be in there and it really wouldn't be an issue this year. Plus, we don't know what showcase mode is going to even look like. If they're going to use any top stars like Roman Reigns, for example, if it is a bloodline or a Roman showcase, Brock Lesnar is massively featured in the Roman Reigns saga, isn't he? All right, let's switch over to NXT because NXT is loaded this year. So some of the names I think that could be even headliners in different DLC packs. Stephanie Vaquer, is it Vaquer? Vaquer? She's in there. She's gotta be in there. Julia, your brand new NXT Women's Champion. Definitely assume that Julia would be a headliner. And again, both of them have been in NXT now for quite some time. They're heavily featured. They're a big focus for NXT. Gotta believe they're gonna be in there. The question marks I have though are some of the TNA talent that have come over to WWE into NXT. Jordynne Grace, for example, has had 2 Royal Rumble appearances. I'm under the belief, I'm just speculating here, I think Jordynne Grace signed with WWE full-time and she makes her debut at the Royal Rumble. If that does happen, probably could still make it into the video game. Obafemi, your brand new NXT champion, didn't make it the cut last year. He's totally got to be in there this year, but I do suspect that they would put him in there as DLC. Joe Hendry, another name from TNA, who I also think will, once his TNA contract is up, why not have him go over to NXT? And I think it'd be fun if people could get Joe Hendry as DLC. Call it like the Outsiders pack or something like that. Or the I Believe in Joe Hendry pack. I believe in Joe Hendry. Sol Ruca is another name. She's been in NXT for quite some time. And in fact, her gear was in 2K24. You could actually apply it to different wrestlers, but she wasn't in there. So I fully expect Sol Ruca to make it in. Lexis King is another name who should be in. He should have been in last year, but didn't make the cut. Ethan Page has been in NXT for quite some time. I think he'll be in there too. Lola Vice is another name. And for a DLC, for like even in a tag team, you could do Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. They've even had some moments on main roster where they've been featured. I think those 2 names will be heavily featured for DLC. Now a long shot for signings, the Hardys. I know they're with TNA, but WWE has a big working relationship with TNA. And I don't believe the Hardys have Legends contracts with WWE at this time, but man, oh man, if they could just put pen to paper and somehow get that done, I would love to have the Hardys back in there and regular, normal Hardy boys. And Jeff Hardy especially, I'm a huge fan of Jeff Hardy and all his work over the years, and I think it would be great to be able to have him back in the game. Long shot though. Now, for honorable mentions and some specialty pick things here, kind of roster aside a little bit, but thinking about general managers, every single year with my GM being in the game, we get new managers and they update and they add more to it. We've got Eric Bischoff, Paul Heyman, Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville is still there as a GM. Don't do that. Stop, update it. Sonya Deville, not GM. But I think this year, if my GM is going to remain in the game, I think that they add even more to it. I think Nick Aldis makes his debut, and I would love it if you could just play as Nick Aldis in the video game, but they might lock him and just keep him as a general manager instead. I think Ava will also make her debut as a GM. She's been the GM or whatever, general manager, final boss GM of NXT for a long time now. She's mixed it up with Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis on TV too. So I think because she's a staple of NXT at this point, you add her in as one of the GMs. Adam Pearce obviously makes a return. Paul Heyman, I think they keep in there. Mick Foley, I think they keep. Eric Bischoff, I think they'll keep as well. Teddy Long. Stephanie McMahon, maybe. She's not technically working for WWE, but she shows up whenever. So they might just, because she's on good terms and all that, they might just keep Stephanie in there. And William Regal. But who's out? Who's not in the game? Well, the obvious ones are going to be anybody that has been released by WWE in the last 12 months. Bobby Lashley, as an example. MVP, Shelton Benjamin. What I do think happens, though, with any released talent like, you know, Vince McMahon not being in the game or Lashley or anybody like that, I think that their entrance motions probably do still make it in the game. I'm guessing you could still do Shane McMahon's entrance thing with the shimmy and all of that and fix his wrist. They just call the entrance motion money talks or something. And our final honorable mentions here is more just stuff that I think gets added in, whether it's part of a DLC or just their day one, and hopefully their day one. But the new arenas and new titles, for example, I think because of where we are right now as I'm filming this is in January, I think there's still enough time that they could insert Raw Netflix arena into the game. Now, no, I don't think that they would have any of the advertising on there. They just don't do that. That's specific to WWE. So I think you would get like the black canvas that's in the ring right now, similar to that of SmackDown, where SmackDown now has like the blue carpet cover there is what they're doing for the ring mat. But if they haven't built it and plan to put it in because it's like kind of too late, I hope that they can put a focus and a rush on it to make sure that those arenas are updated and they are in their day one, or they're patched in day one. People need the most up-to-date current thing within these games, and not having the Raw Netflix arena, what it is for 2025, SmackDown arena, as well as NXT's new silver and black. All of that needs to be in their day one. Likewise with the titles. We now have brand new US and IEC titles for the women, which are just the men's titles with white strap. And yes, Community Creations can do that today, but just make it official. It is official, and put it into the game. Same with the updated tag team titles that we have on the men's side, and the slightly tweaked Intercontinental Championship that has the blue now added into it. There's enough time to add all of them, and there's enough time to make sure that we have a huge roster with a ton of DLC, what I assume will be DLC. But who do you think is in? Who's out? What's on your list? And if you guys want to talk more about 2K25, there's a lot of speculation about modes, showcase, what's in, what's out. Click this video right here because we're talking about what could be in 2K25, and maybe we're a little bit wrong about what showcase might end up being. Have a great day. See ya.